For this project, you're going to need t-shirt yarn, a 6mm crochet hook, 2 D-rings, a lock, and a stitch marker. You're also going to need a bag chain. We begin with a magic ring. So get your yarn and twist it like this. Put your hook through and grab the longer side of the yarn, then chain 1. Into the magic ring, we're going to place 8 single crochets. So begin with the first single crochet. Then grab your stitch marker and mark the first stitch. Like that. Then place 7 more single crochets into the magic ring for a total of 8. After the 8 single crochets, pull the shorter side, the shorter end, but don't pull it too tight. We'll pull it tighter after the second row. We begin the second round, that is the second round. Pull out a stitch marker. Then in between this first stitch, we have this loop and this loop. So we go in between the 2 loops, and our hook should appear on the other side through so you're putting it through the first stitch and it appears on the other side like this. And into that first stitch we're going to place 2 single crochets. We are not slip stitching at the end of the round, we're just continuing straight into the next round. So place 2 single crochets in that stitch and mark the first stitch. Into the next stitch, in between the loops, this one and this other one, place 2 single crochets. Ensure your stitches are not too tight, but also do not be too loose with the stitches. Into the next one, in between, 2 single crochets. Two single crochets into the next stitch. Remember, we're going in between the loops like that. Grab a loop, complete a single crochet, and place another one in the same stitch. Into the next one, this one, place 2 single crochets, and you're going to place single crochets into every stitch. At the end of round 2, you should have 16 stitches because we've doubled up the stitches. I'm in the last stitch right here. So there we're going to have 2 stitches. We are done with round 2. Once you're done with round 2, you can tighten. You can pull now the smaller end tight. And we are ready to begin round 3. We begin round 3 by pulling out the stitch marker. And into that first stitch, in between the loops, just like we've been doing, we're going to place 2 single crochets into the first stitch. Then we mark the first. Into the second stitch, go in through like that and place 1 single crochet. So the second stitch gets only 1 single crochet. Into the third, in between the stitches, place 2 single crochets. The fourth one gets just 1. The next one gets 2 single crochets. The next gets 1. The next one gets 2. And we're going to alternate like this till we get to the end of round 3. So we're going to have 1 stitch with 2 single crochet, 2 single crochets, the next one with just 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, and repeat to the end of the round. Pull out the stitch marker to begin round 4. Into that first stitch, place 2 single crochets. And mark the first stitch. The next stitch gets just 1 single crochet. The next one gets 1 single crochet. Then the one that follows will get 2 single crochets into the same stitch. The next one gets just 1, and the next one gets 1. So we alternate in between 2 single crochets in one stitch, followed by 1 single crochet and another one in the next 2. So 2 single crochets, 1 1, 2 single crochets, 1 1, 2 1 1, till you get to the end of round 4. I'm at the end of round 4 and ready to begin round 5. So I'm going to pull out the stitch marker and place 2 single crochets into that first stitch. So the first stitch always gets 2. Then mark. The next 3 stitches will each get 1 single crochet. So the previous row had 2 in between. The next one will have, this one will have 3. If you were to do the next one, it would have 4 in between, and so on. So I've placed 3 single crochets. The next one will get 2 single crochets. The next 3 stitches will each get 1 single crochet. The one that follows gets 2 single crochets. Followed by 1 single crochet into the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then next is 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Then 3 single crochets, 1 into the next. 1, 2, and 3. Then you're going to have 2 single crochets into the same stitch. One single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and repeat to the end. At this point the circle is ready, and I'll get my pair of scissors and cut off the yarn. Pull out the stitch marker. Now we want to complete this round, and to do that you pull your yarn through like that, then go in between the first and the second stitch like that, then pull a loop right here, then put your hook from the other side onto this stitch that you completed with, and pull a loop like that, and there you have a complete circle, perfectly done. I like to go into the next stitch, in between the next stitch, pull the yarn through. We just want to hide it, then go into the next one, pull it through. Then onto this stitch, put your hook through and pull your yarn through like that. Then now you can hide it inside the stitches like this. Hide it till you're sure that it is well hidden and it cannot unravel. And then whatever end that remains, you can cut it off. And there you have your first circle, which is flat and perfect. You're going to do another circle exactly like this one, and then we continue from there. Once you've made your second circle, you don't cut off the yarn, and we're not going to connect at the end. We're just going to work from that point. So what we do is we chain 10. Now the chain that you're going to make will depend on the size of the bag that you want. If you want a smaller bag, you can chain 5. If you want a medium bag, you can chain 10. If you want to chain 15, you can go up to 20. But I'm going to work with 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Get the other circle on the right side of the circle. So this is the wrong side. This is the right side. This is the right side and the wrong side. So you have your other circle on the right side, and get any stitch, and put your hook through like this. Then do a slip stitch, then chain 1. You're just doing 1 slip stitch. Next, we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of these stitches that we've just made, starting with this one in the back loop only. So a single crochet into the next one, 1 single crochet, for a total of 10. And 10. I have my 10 single crochets. Next, I'm going to move into the next stitch right here. Slip stitch in from the right side. So into this stitch, put your hook through and pull a loop. Then slip stitch. Slip stitch only once and chain 1. Get your D-ring. If it's not snappable, you're going to need to attach it into the next row. Turn your work at this point. Work 4 single crochets. So 1 in the back loops. Remember, we are working the back loops only. 2, 3, and 4. Get your D-ring, one of them, and place it into the next 2 stitches. So as we do the single crochet into the next 2, we're going to go through the the D-ring, sorry. We're going to go through the D-ring too. So in the next stitch, in the 5th stitch, do a single crochet on top of the D-ring. Into the next one, the back loop, and through the D-ring, do a single crochet. It could be a D-ring, it could be a round ring, it doesn't matter. Then the last 4 single crochets will each get a single crochet in the back loop to the end of the second row. And 4. So now your work is looking like this. Turn it. Then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch on the right side like this. Put your hook through and do a slip stitch. Then chain 1. Next, we're going to do a single crochet into each of the 10 stitches in the back loops. So this is the back loop. Single crochet into that stitch, and single crochet into all the stitches to the end of row 3. After the 10 stitches, onto the other circle, onto the next stitch right here, you're going to put your hook, going to go up to the other side, then slip stitch once and chain one, then turn your work. We continue working in the back loops, and we're going to go all the way around till we have a few stitches remaining. I'll go on work my rows and I'll tell you how many stitches I'll leave for the opening of the bag. So just go with one single crochet into the back loop of every stitch. Once you get to one of the circle, you're going to slip stitch onto the stitch next to the one you had just worked, and continue repeating the row. So at this point we turn, get the next stitch right here, put your hook through and do a slip stitch, then a chain one, begin again. I work till I have 10 stitches remaining on each side of the circles, and at this point I'm going to attach the other D-ring. So I've already slip stitched, chain one, do 4 single crochets into the next 4 stitches, 1 in each. Then now I'll get the D-ring and attach it in the middle stitches. So go through the D-ring, through to the back loop of the 5th stitch, do a single crochet, go into the D-ring again, into the next stitch, and do a single crochet. So we are attaching those 2 middle stitches, then work 4 single crochets to the end, 1 in each stitch. Then slip stitch into the next stitch as we've been doing, chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to work the last row, and the last row is going to be a row of just 1 single crochet into the back loop. After the last stitch, you're going to turn and slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 1, then cut off the yarn. You're done with the main part of the bag at that point. Pull through, and there our bag is ready. We have the opening on the top, and now we're going to work the cover of the bag. Get your yarn, start with the slip knots, chain 10, hold the 10 stitch and chain 1 more, go into the chain that you're holding with a single crochet, then work 1 single crochet into every stitch to the end of this row. Don't be too tight with the stitches so that whatever you're working does not fold. Mine is folded a little, but once I stretch it out, it's going to be okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the 10th single crochet. Once we get to that point, we're going to work 2 more single crochets into that last stitch. So 1 and 2 for a total of 3. Then you're going to turn over to the other side, and you're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the stitches till you get back here. So that's my last stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Begin into this stitch and work 1 single crochet into the next 9 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Into the 10th stitch, we're going to place 2 single crochets into that same stitch. So 1 and 2. We are placing 2 single crochets into every stitch for the next 3 stitches. So that is 1, 2, and 3. So 1 and 2, then the next one gets 2, 1 and 2. Then the rest of the remaining stitches till we get to the end, we'll get just 1 single crochet. That is a total of 9 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, work 1 single crochet into every stitch for a total of 9 single crochets. Those are 9. Then the next stitch we'll get 2 single crochets, that is the 10th stitch, 2 single crochets. The next one gets just 1 single crochet, followed by 2 single crochets in the same stitch, 1 and 2, followed by 1 single crochet. The next gets 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Then all the remaining stitches to the end get 1 single crochet. Get your bag, check whether the cover fits right there. At this point, I'm ready to attach the cover to the bag, and I'm going to attach on this line right here. Before I do that, I chain 1 and do a single crochet onto each row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. There are 6 rows. As for the last one, I'll place the stitch right here. 6. Then chain 1. Once you chain 1, you're going to cut, leave a long tail and cut your yarn. Not too long, this size is long enough. Then pull your yarn through. We're going to attach this cover on these stitches, and because I have 8 stitches right here and 6 on this cover, I'm going to leave 1 stitch on this side and another stitch on this side. So I'll go into the first, then onto the second right there. Take the cover and grab this loop, pull it on the inner part of the bag like that. Then turn your work so that it's easier to work. Go into that first stitch. I should actually put the yarn into the first stitch because that's not where our first stitch is going to be. So put your yarn through, then go into the first stitch and onto the second stitch of the bag. Get the loop that you put on the inside part of the bag, pull a loop and pull it all the way through for a slip stitch into the next stitch and the next stitch on the bag. Grab a loop, pull it through, pull all the way through to complete a slip stitch, the third and the third stitch, then pull through for a slip stitch. Do that to the next stitch. Onto the next one. And finally into the last one. Then you're going to pull your yarn through. Put your hook into the stitch that is remaining at the end and grab the yarn onto the inside part of the bag. Like that. The cover is attached. Then you need to tighten on this side just to ensure that your work is secured. So I pull it like this and chain 1 on the inside. Then I'm going to hide this strap that remains hanging on the inside of the stitches. Grab the yarn and pull it through. You're going to do this on the inside until you're completely sure that your yarn is well secured. Do the same for this one that we left hanging right here. I'll pull it into the next stitch and then I'll hide it inside the stitches on the inside. You can leave the tail hanging once you've hidden it, because we're going to attach a line into the bag, and so the hanging chains will be covered, or the hanging tails will be covered by the lining on the bag. So next we need to attach a lock to the bag. I'll attach a link to the next part in the description box, so be sure to check it out after a while. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed, like, share and comment, and see you in the next one.